Earth is crossing an ocean of mysterious dark matter. Here's how it's impacting our atmosphere. Even if there was some sort of, strange intelligence out there that we wanted to communicate with, that might be one of the ways to do it. That might, even if it was like non-corporeal or whatever, it doesn't have a physical body here in this universe, but could manipulate energy, perhaps that would be a method that would be worth trying. And maybe they are. Who knows what you would communicate with, though? That's always really risky. Do you want to communicate with what, whatever's on the other side? And that's why I feel like that's why it's important for humans to have more information about all of these different technologies and methods. Because this stuff is happening regardless of whether or not we're involved in it. The only difference is if we're involved in it, we can actually have a say in what's going on and have a knowledge on what's happening to us. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Inspired Earth. I just wanted to thank everybody that has emailed me or commented positive things before, or encouragement, or any of that sort of stuff. I really appreciate it. It's always really surprising to me whenever it comes to me, that, especially because it's like in waves, so it'll just be random waves of positivity and kind of like an ocean. Which is funny because that's what some of the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. Well, pretty much it's kind of like an ocean episode, or halfway, mostly about oceans. I didn't mean for it to be that way, but it just kind of ended up that way. So that's always good. I love oceans, and they're like one of the most important things ever. So mysterious and enigmatic and beautiful, yet terrifyingly powerful, as we're witnessing right now with Hurricane Beryl. So I wanted to start off with something that I'm sure that we're all going to be interested with, and is kind of amusing but really weird at the same time. And it is that a secret U.S. Navy Manta ray drone is mysteriously photographed on Google Maps and uploaded onto Google Maps, even though that's a Department of Defense owned project. So, and a lot of people don't realize that's who owns it. So that's really strange. But before I talk about it being uploaded, I wanted to mention this first article that came out May 2nd, 2024. And that was before this had been photographed in Google News. So here we have: United States Navy has just tested a new self-driving fish-shaped drone submarine that can hibernate on the seafloor for very long periods without having to refuel, and then deliver a wide array of payloads. Dubbed the Manta Ray because of its slick design, the autonomous underwater craft was produced by Northrop Grumman as part of the Navy project to develop underwater drones for long-range missions, according to the Telegraph. The all-white, smooth-looking vessel can anchor itself to the seafloor and hibernate in low-power mode, the outlet said. It uses efficient buoyancy-driven gliding to move through the water, Dr. Kyle Warner, Manta Ray Programmer Manager at Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, aka DARPA. And I just wanted to note how much of like a nothingness sentence that is. Like, that really doesn't mean anything. I mean, you can pretty much all like submersible crafts glide through water and are buoyant, right? And that's like how they move. So a buoyancy driven gliding drone is like that's just very simplistic. It's just funny that like that they're saying this stuff. But our successful full-scale manta ray testing validates the vehicle's readiness to advance towards real-world application, Werner added. The craft is designed with several payload bays of multiple sizes and types to enable a wide variety of naval mission sets. The Navy spent 3 months testing the craft off the coast of Southern California, the Telegraph added. Defense analysts suspect the Navy wants to develop drones to counter Russian and Chinese submarine operations. So remember how I had said that the Russians have this Poseidon tsunami weapon? It's been out for a while. And the North Koreans just showcased their version of like their tsunami weapon that wasn't as advanced, but was basically a very similar thing in January. And it says, the Russians have also been developing their own underwater drones and announced last year their plans to acquire nearly 36 such craft, the Telegraph said. The Russians claim that their drone can be armed with nuclear warheads and hit speeds of 100 knots, or about 115 miles per hour. So allegedly the Russian, which it doesn't name what the craft is, the article doesn't like actually cite the name of the drone so that you could like look the stuff up. So I don't know what drone the Russians are allegedly using or whatever, but 115 miles per hour underwater is pretty significant. And it has to have some pretty good sensors to be able to go that fast and not run into stuff. The mini sub is said to have an average range of about 6,200 miles. Ukraine is also developing underwater vehicles, which it will use to fight Russia's Black Sea Fleet, while Great Britain and Australia are developing similar craft. We actually already saw semi-submersible drones being used in combat in Russia's Black Sea. So that's interesting, but yeah, those are already in use, but I guess they're saying that they're trying to get even more advanced ones. So basically the update on this one is top secret U.S. aquatic drone weapon Manta Ray spotted on Google Maps for all to see. And this craft that we just were reading about in the other article is then photographed plainly up on top here and placed on Google Earth. And Google Earth is owned by the Department of Defense. So I would say that this was intentionally dropped onto there. But and this is basically a copy and paste article from the other one, literally saying the exact same stuff. But one of the comments was even mentioning that the efficient buoyancy driven gliding through the water is like a nothing burger sentence, which is again kind of funny that it goes into the intentionally being released narrative that as well. I think that this craft is actually a flop and that's not going to be very successful. And the reason that I say that, this article doesn't mention it, but I had read some other articles whenever I found out about this thing because I was extremely interested in it. I had never heard of it before being photographed and put onto Google Maps. And it said that it has issues with marine life like growing on it. Because if you remember, it says that it's can be chained to the bottom of the floor and go into like a hibernation mode, similar to the Poseidon earthquake weapon, tsunami weapon. So here we are with another really strange story, very bizarre story, and it's kind of reminiscent of Jaws. It's the time of year that Jaws was actually filmed for. It was like right before 4th of July, and on 4th of July, that's like the narrative of Jaws. The mayor even has the quote that you're going to have a panic on your hands on the week of 4th of July or whatever, and that's going to affect the town's economy. And it's funny that even Jaws goes back to money. and like profiting and like putting people at risk for money to expose them to a shark that they know about. But that's funny. But no, this is not directly related to the mayor knowing about it or something like that. But my point is that it seems like we're living through multiple disaster movie timelines, and like all of them are converging into one, like a dozen different disaster movies, all having their writers come together and their plot lines intertwined together at the same time. And it's kind of our job to unwind those narratives and form our own. And that's what this podcast is about doing, is exposing these narratives and this web of lies, and that we can actually make our own type of stuff and our own future, our own web of beauty and love rather than hate and deceit. But because this story is related to climate change, and it's probably not obvious right away for some people that it's related to climate change, but the increase of severity of storms and frequency of storms is going to be affecting people psychologically, financially, biologically, in all of these different ways, in ways that people can't even really imagine. And this is definitely one of those examples. So we had this string of shark attacks on the south of Texas, which is how it relates to Jaws, and that's why I was bringing up Jaws and the disaster movies. And they say, the scientists are saying that because of this Hurricane Beryl, that the sharks were pushed further north from their habitat from this massive storm, and they were hungry, and like after swimming from so far, I'm sure. So all these people are in the water and vacationing, and I hate to laugh, that's terrible. It's again, it makes me think of Jaws. I'm not laughing at the tragedy. It's just, like the emotions of humanity or whatever. But there was 4 people that were bitten by sharks in South Padre in like 2 days. And they said that it's because of this hurricane. And why is this hurricane accelerating constantly? It was accelerating off the coast. It got back into the water, started accelerating again. And that is because the waters are so warm, and that fuels the hurricane. So that's how climate change is related to this. Well, it's just one aspect of it. So with that being said, Hurricane Beryl may be partly to blame for the spate of shark attacks at South Padre Island beaches that sent 3 people to the hospital Thursday, according to one shark expert. The storm, which made landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula on Friday morning, could have motivated larger sharks to increase their feeding behavior near the shoreline. Recent research indicates that larger sharks will come closer to shore and seek prey before meteorological events, said Kelsey Banks, an associate research scientist at the Harte Research Institute for Gulf of Mexico Studies at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Just as humans prepare for storms by stocking up, so do animals, Banks said. That could help explain why a large shark was spotted near the beach Thursday and 4 people were injured. At least 2 people were bitten on the 4th of July at the popular coastal destination, and 2 more sustained injuries. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, whose game wardens responded to the beach Thursday, said in a statement that 2 people were bitten and 2 people encountered the shark but were not seriously injured. The 2 bite victims were taken to Valley Regional Medical Center care in Brownsville. One was then flown elsewhere for further treatment, the department said. A department spokeswoman said Friday afternoon that one person came into contact with the shark as it was nearby, while another was injured fending off the shark. Officials have not released the names of any people involved in the shark encounters. A 35-year-old man from Lavernia and a 47-year-old woman from Salina, a town near Dallas, both underwent surgery, are in stable condition. The South Padre Island City Secretary Nikki Soto said Friday afternoon. A 49-year-old man, also from Salina, was treated and discharged Thursday, while a fourth person was treated for minor injuries at the beach. The bite was reported at about 11 a.m. near the beach access 14. One man was bitten in the leg, was treated at the beach, and taken to the hospital for further treatment, while a second person was treated at the scene. A second call came in later in the day reporting 2 more bites at a different location, South Padre Island. Fire Chief Jim Pigg said Thursday. He said both people were taken to local hospitals and did not provide further information about their conditions or about the time or location of the bites. Pigg called the number of bites unprecedented on South Padre Island. The last reported shark bite on the island was about 5 years ago. Shark bites are very rare in Texas. According to the International Shark Attack File, run by the University of Florida and Florida Museum of Natural History, there have only been 45 confirmed unprovoked shark attacks in the state since 1911. There have been 19 in Galveston County and 12 in Nueces County, near Corpus Christi. Cameron County, where Thursday's bites occurred, has seen several shark attacks in that time, according to the database, which classifies unprovoked bites as incidents in which a bite on a live human occurs in the shark's natural habitat with no human provocation. While the beaches weren't closed after the incidents, lifeguards and South Padre Island Beach Patrol were warning people to stay out of the water or remain only in the water that is shallower than knee-deep. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department said game wardens and members of the Texas Game Warden Marine Tactical Operations Group assisted with boat and land patrol, while the Texas Department of Public Safety patrolled by helicopter. Pigg said that the shark was located at the end of the island and was pushed out to deeper water, but an investigation was ongoing. But Banks, the Harte Research Institute marine biologist, said it's likely that there were multiple sharks in the area, so it's difficult to say that a single shark was responsible for multiple bites. She said that the rogue shark theory, the premise behind the movie Jaws, of a shark actively searching for humans is not likely. If that were the case, the shark were likely to have returned and bitten its victims more than once. Banks said that people were bitten only once indicates that they were more than likely cases of test bites than true attacks. People are not on the menu for sharks, so human bites are usually a case of mistaken identity. The animals have poor eyesight, especially in the coast's murky waters, and they explore their environments with their mouths. While they do have receptors that can detect electric fields around their mouths and noses, which tells them there's a living organism, they generally see only shapes and shadows, and take bites to determine what is causing a splashing. Sharks are typically looking for prey species, such as baitfish, she said. In the summer, there are fish migrations that happen up and down the coast, which can attract the sharks. The western Gulf of Mexico has a healthy shark population, Banks said, with both small and large sharks found up and down the Texas coast. That makes it difficult to identify the type of shark or sharks that bit people Thursday. She said video footage showing the shape of the dorsal fin around the snout of one shark near the beach indicates it could have been a rather large tiger shark or bull shark. That's terrifying, honestly. That's crazy. I'm glad that they just got small bites and it wasn't life-threatening, because a large tiger or bull shark is very, very big and intimidating. That's nuts. It's possible to collect DNA from the bite site and test it to determine the shark species, Banks said. However, in most cases that isn't done because people are more concerned with treating the victim than swabbing the injury to collect genetic information. While she didn't have details about the minor injuries reported, Banks said it's possible they could have been abrasions from the shark's skin. Sharks that search for food often do what Banks called a bump and bite. The animals will bump into an object first to see if there's something that they want to bite. The animals have very rough skin, which feels like sandpaper and could cause painful abrasions on the human skin. While shark bites are very uncommon, Banks said beachgoers need to be aware of animals when they're swimming in the Gulf. When there are more people in the water, that increases the chance of an encounter, she said. If you see a shark, you should exit the water and should avoid swimming near people who are fishing. Minimize splashing is also helpful because splashing mimics the shark's prey. These events do cause more panic, but people that are going to the beach need to be aware that when you enter the ocean, you enter the shark's habitat. That's very true. Need to respect the wildlife. All right, so on this next one, we have something that is super special and incredible. This is the Great Blue Hole. It's famous in Belize. There's pictures. You can look it up. If you can't see it, it's basically like a ring of land with this small little area that boats can come in and out of. And in this ring, inside of the ring of land, which is like an island, there's this deep, dark blackness that just goes straight down, and it's a perfect circle just going straight down into the ocean. And there have been, I think they said there have been 3 people who drowned while diving here. And so it's dangerous, but it's very deep. It's like over 1,000 feet deep. I think 1,300 feet deep. So this, for the first time, a drone enters the Great Blue Hole and captures footage that will terrify the world. At first, there was incredible nature, and then it disappeared. And there's a video that is at the article. I can link it. It's really cool. I don't think I can play the video, but it says that around 60 miles of the coast of Belize lies a geographical wonder that is simultaneously amazing and terrifying. The Great Blue Hole. Its gargantuan marine sinkhole, which began life as a cave, but as ocean levels rose, became flooded thousands of years ago. The explorer Jacques Cousteau, which, famous, made the best films ever. I remember as a kid watching that stuff, and it just fascinated me to no end. Made the Great Blue Hole famous. The site has ended up being a popular spot for divers. Perhaps there's something in the human instinct to explore a giant hole when we find one, but the Great Blue Hole can punish the inquisitive. That line, of course, for any Art Bell fans, you're going to be thinking of Mel's Hole. Was that real? Was it not real? Ocean version of Mel's Hole. There is a bottom of this one, but it does make you wonder about something like that. Even if it was fake, it was still good entertainment. And I don't know if it was fake. I'm just saying, even if it was, like the sentence was saying, it's like a human instinct. And I feel like that story was like tapping into that human narrative and that instinct of wanting to explore giant holes, which is funny. Diving down to the bottom of the Great Blue Hole has uncovered human remains for 2 people who died in the hole, along with a GoPro and plastic waste people have dropped there. And there's pictures too, for anybody that's watching. It's like a coral reef, and they're showing sharks and pictures, but the next picture's a lot more important. It was decided to leave the bodies where they lay, with the bottom of the Great Blue Hole considered a worthy resting place for the deceased divers. There have been a number of well-equipped efforts to explore the Great Blue Hole, including an expedition launched in December 2018 where a pair of submarines ventured down into the waters of the phenomenon. At first, the waters seemed teeming with aquatic life, but then beyond a certain point, the bustling undersea environment disappeared. Around 90 meters deep, the Great Blue Hole, there is a layer of hydrogen sulfide beyond which the water becomes much darker and devoid of life. Past this point, there are only dead husks of marine life that died and sank down into the dark depths, away from any sunlight, along with human remains. The December 2018 expedition was the one which discovered the human remains of 2 divers, alerting the authorities to the discovery before leaving the bodies where they lay. using footage from an underwater drone where they were able to record their discoveries, including the moment they found the bodies of the two divers. The footage that will terrify the world also captured the stark contrast between the Great Blue Hole above and the below layer of hydrogen sulfide. The water above it was teeming with life, and below it was a disturbing graveyard that was barren of light and activity, being little more than a home for deceased husks of once living things that had eventually fallen through the depths. The difference between these two worlds existing in the same place was stark, and at the bottom of the hole there was another amazing discovery: silt. Yes, I know it doesn't sound very amazing, but the layers of silt at the bottom of the Great Blue Hole help point towards major events from history, including indications of major drought and storms at around the time of the Mayan civilization. That's fascinating. And the write-up on this article doesn't mention it, but there's stalactites here, which it talks about in the video. And these stalactites show that the Great Blue Hole was actually above ground and was a cave before the oceans rose. So this used to be like up in the air. I mean, kind of, relatively. It was above sea level. And it was like a giant hole, and they said that there was stuff still living in it. And it makes me think of, in China, they had a massive sinkhole that they found that had all this ancient life inside of it that was like a microbiome, micro ecosystem inside of this sinkhole. It's really weird, and can get your imagination going. But these stalactites are fascinating. That it was once had water dripping through it, and that it was like a massive cave. And the fact that they found the bodies there is also fascinating, and that they had just left them. So here we go with the disaster movie narrative again, in that this is, I'm sure there's multiple movies that this could be in or whatever, but it makes me think of Art Bell, The Day After Tomorrow, and Whitley Strieber, The Global Coming Superstorm. That's the book that they wrote. And they made the movie The Day After Tomorrow. Well, basically that whole plot line, I don't even know if I've talked about this on the podcast, because I've kind of shielded y'all from this, but I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid, and because I have something positive to talk about it afterwards. So at least it's not a total bummer, but there's been all these studies in the last 6 months or 7 months that have shown that the ocean is way worse off than we ever even imagined, and that all the ocean currents are changing, and that we have really no idea what that's going to do, and we're trying to figure it out. And we have all these studies coming out saying, that they have ideas of what's going to happen, but nobody really knows. And basically it's the exact plot of The Day After Tomorrow, like the exact same stream, like the same underwater river that they're talking about, the ocean current, the same ocean current that they're talking about in the movie is the same one that they've been talking about with scientists. But